I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, start off with a roll call.
Here.
Here.
Ryan Wilson,
Here.
Don Wolfa.
Here.
Tom Stevens.
Here.
Bob Cormier. And Cameron Goldman here.
All right. Has everyone had a moment to review the minutes from our June 30th meeting?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve those minutes.
I motion. We accept the minutes.
Thank you. Starting off with old business tonight, we have 137th and Lowerman. Don, I'll refer to you.
Okay, this is a long-standing one. We spoke about this last time. This will be included in our master plan for Noble Oaks and kind of what we've been calling as the birch system. Let me get there really quick. This corner, just to revisit really quick, doesn't really have any drainage. The thought right now preliminarily as we put together the plan is to include it in this in a system dedicated to Birch Street, and then it'll outlet into Sleepy Hollow down at its kind of connection point to 139th. So that'll be part of that plan. We informed the resident about it. We were on site doing a field check, so they are aware of it. So.
Right. Next order of business, Robert Hopkins, 13137 Polk Street.
So this is the Meyer Manor one. I know, Tom, I think you guys did some work out there since the last meeting.
No.
Huh? This is the one you cleaned the sewer
Well,
out.
we did. I thought, well, yeah, I have done work, but I didn't think it was since then.
Oh, okay. Well, this is the one that's kind of located here off Polk. I believe this is the Hopkins house. They did clean a structure out there. I had given them my card to meet them out on site, but nobody called me. So they still want to meet. I'm available. Right now, we'll see how some of the bigger rains handle cleaning that system out, and we'll go from there. But until then,
We
much
haven't had any
nothing.
significant rain either. So.
yeah, it's been dry for the past 2 months, so haven't really had a chance to test it out. So, but yeah, if they still want to call me, and we can meet out there too. So that's the update on that guy.
Okay. Moving on to Jacob Veman, 9208 West 142nd Place. And I believe this is something that we need to talk about as a board and how to move this forward. Would you want to provide any other insight on that?
So this is one that we kind of briefly discussed kind of outside of the meeting as a potential kind of kickoff for a 50-50 type program. When we have a bunch of these pre-platted subdivisions that don't have any rear drainage because they were platted prior to really any stormwater, ordinances being adopted by the town, and several of these were platted before the town even became incorporated. So for instances like this, I think in the past we've kind of kicked it to the homeowner. There's been some discussion on the side about potentially doing a cost share with the town and the homeowner to kind of help alleviate some of their burden. We had talked, and this is really up to the board's decision, about a 50-50 cost share. I would recommend there be a cap to it. And then also, we also talked about this, Ryan brought this up, about actually notifying, adjacent parcels to that area too, to see if, they're having similar issues, if we can tie them in at the same time. Basically so it can not just be for one person. We can tie some pumps in if there's there at the same time, prevent nuisance drainage, make it not necessarily a larger project, but a more encompassing project, I guess. So,
And so we use the town contractors to bid on that type of project, but tie it into a larger project with adjacent properties
And we try to do them kind of once a year. So if we got 3 or 4 of these, throughout the year, we would likely bid them out as one project to a contractor. So they just do them all at once towards the end of the year. We do it once a year and call it, kind of a grant call in a way. I think if we bid them out as a larger project too, even though they wouldn't be in the same vicinity, you'd probably get better costs as well. So that was my thought, I guess. With
Before
it.
we put it to a vote, do you have any questions on it?
Yeah, I have a question, Don. Is this issue a town-related problem?
No, this particular one, it was kind of up for debate if it was, but this house really just sat in a low spot for a number of years. The house to the north was built probably 10 years ago, but even going before that, looking at aerial photographs and contours that were there before the house was even built, there's just always been a low spot at the rear part of this yard.
So there actually is no topical difference from 10 years ago.
No, I mean, I can actually turn on the contours and you can see how similar. So this is 13. And then this is 98. 98 actually shows more of a closed contour in the rear yard, which indicates a low area. So this house was built sometime around 07, we believe, or 06, I think. So prior to this contours even, being shot, or after these contours. So we know that there was a low spot area before that house to the north was built, so it didn't cause it. It's always kind of been at a higher grade, 142nd Ave has always been higher than 142nd Place. You can just see it's high by a pretty decent amount, 3 or 4 feet. So whether or not there was a house there, it was still kind of coming down there. Sure, there's more impervious area. There's downspouts now that directs it a little quicker, but the trib area and what actually was there before is about the same. So it's nothing the town has created. It's just kind of been a long-standing low area. And I believe Mr. Viemans lived there for 5 years. So I'm willing to bet that the previous owner had the same issue.
So then the town has not made any alterations to the drainage system that we would be liable for a low spot in a piece of property.
No, that low spot's,
Okay.
been there for as long as, for a long time is what we can gather.
Thanks, Don.
So you wouldn't want to even talk about that as far as looking at some of the other properties before any stormwater ordinances were developed for these older properties? No?
No, I'd like to talk with or have the town council step up to the plate and update to include old properties through no fault of the stormwater board or even the town council for that matter. Are these problems all of a sudden our problems?
Mm-hmm.
And, that's my opinion on it. The ordinance is very clear as to what new construction is. And I personally would make a motion that we plead with the town council to upgrade the ordinance to include old properties. Because, this would be a never-ending battle as far as if we were to go ahead and say property A gets fixed.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to stop all through the alphabet and all through the numbers from coming here and asking for relief from the town? There is none.
It does set a
I
precedent.
think it would be a dangerous precedent.
Right.
Well, I mean, I still think you still evaluate each concern case by case. I think that has to be vetted in that. But if you're going to go this way and you do want some differentiation between, A and B, you're gonna have to make that very clear for one thing. If it's prior to a certain date, or something like that. I mean, I think there has to be some definition to a policy for sure. And have it well written.
So being that again, that it's already clear with the ordinance for new construction, making exception.
Now you can hear me.
Gotcha, Bob.
Okay, I've been here, but for some reason I got muted and I had a couple of concerns, especially in the minutes. If we could go back to that.
Go ahead, Bob.
Yep. Yes, we can.
All right, on page 2, on the Mark and Pam Alltop, it says second in digging a swale line north, and then it says daylight. Should that be something else?
No, daylight's correct. It's just a term for a pipe essentially
Okay.
opening up.
All right, I wasn't sure that was the right verbiage there. And then talking about Jacob's property at 2208 142nd Place, there was mentioned in the minutes from last month about maybe cost sharing on the project.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about now.
That's what we're discussing right now.
All right. Okay, that's all I had to say, and I'm glad I'm with you now.
Sorry.
I
Did
know
you want
it
to
was-
finish your thought?
Again, my motion would be for this board to recommend that the town council amend their ordinance to include old properties.
Well, again, that would be difficult to enforce, I guess, because then you essentially would have legal non-conforming lots, and you cannot force them to upgrade anything until they do a major improvement to their home or tear it down and build a new one, or it would be difficult to enforce on like a retroactive basis like that. I don't think you could. Certainly, as new homes build on pre-platted lots, we have started looking at much more thoroughly over the last year or two of actually installing some of these systems where they're feasible. Like I said, a lot of these suffer from connection points. So sometimes it's not always feasible to run a pipe 300 feet for one single lot.
I agree.
But sometimes you almost have to do it. Otherwise you suffer from these issues. We've had a couple come before this board in the last year or two for very similar cases where they've built like, oh, well, now we have a low spot in our backyard. So, and they're almost all pre-platted lots. So I don't know if that's necessary because anything new is kind of controlled by the ordinance. It's more how do we deal with some of these existing conditions. And you're more than welcome to get town council's input on it. I would advise there actually be some policy put in place and in writing, and have it pretty well defined about the direction you really want to take it. And if that means you don't want to open Pandora's box to every A, B, C, D parcel out there, and you want to leave it directly in scope to specific parcels, then that's your prerogative. But yeah, you have to discuss it and set it up, I guess. So, I mean, we can take a crack at it from a staff level, either through Christopher Burke or town staff or town attorney, however you want to do it. I mean, we can take a stab and bring something back to you and you can review it if you want to go that direction, or you can punt it all together.
I want to look and see what else is out there and what else has been adopted in other ordinances in neighboring towns and states to see what would be. So I'd probably say push that off until later on.
There was no second on the motion. There was just discussion on the motion. So if there's no second, then it's a moot point.
I mean, we can do some research for neighboring communities. Cedar Lake's a little unique in the fact that they were incorporated so much later than a lot of the neighbors around here. But at the same time, really no stormwater ordinances came into effect, prior to the 1980s anyways. So we can dig some a little bit, present some more better options, I think, next meeting, and you guys can have some discussion about it, make some choices to see where you want it to go, if you want it to go that direction, and then we can kind of regroup.
I think that's fine. Is that okay?
Again, it's a moot point.
All right. So move on to the next property of Martin Ryan, 8320 Ravenway.
All right, this one is in Havenwood. Right here, it's essentially at Ravenway and Meadowlark. Mr. Ryan came to the board, I believe, 2 meetings ago. I don't see him here. I don't think he's on the computer either. His concern was about a ravine west of his house. You can see a whole bunch of contours just west of his parcel right there. It's probably close to a 10-foot drop from his house down to where a pipe crosses under Ravenway. Right now it's a 12-inch storm sewer that goes into a large, like 48-inch, 60-inch manhole, which has an open rebar top. And then it looks like it goes into another 12-inch that ultimately goes under Ravenway and then comes out to the ravine to the south. He had concerns about that graded manhole clogging and basically ponding water in that ravine. The rub for the system is the fact that I think it's just undersized. I don't think it's necessarily the clogging issue. It's essentially a 12-inch pipe that goes into the manhole and a 12-inch that leaves it. So I just think there's a finite level of capacity to that system, and it's a long pipe, as you can tell. It's got to get all the way from that north ravine all the way to the south. As we mentioned last meeting, Havenwood is an older subdivision that was initial phases were platted in the mid 90s. So we actually don't have plans. We were just given some backup information about a banker's box and a half full of old records that we're still kind of going through right now. My only concern about potentially upsizing that pipe is that the subdivision's kind of been notorious using these ravines as detention. So we already have some issues downstream of Havenwood, so I don't necessarily want to increase the size of that pipe. It's just going to push a problem we already know we have downstream. So we're trying to find the original approved design plans in this mess of records that we're going through right now to see, if there's a method to the madness for the 12-inch, if we can upsize it or if we can just potentially cap that manhole and put a beehive on it to prevent some of the larger debris that's catching in it. Because there's some big trunks down there that kind of just fall into that area. It's really wooded back there. It's going to continue to happen. I don't think there's much you can do about clogging. So no answers now. We're still kind of getting through those records. We'll have an answer for you next meeting.
Don, you also mentioned in the minutes of the last meeting that you suggested possibly replacing the pipe under the road.
Well, we can't make an evaluation on that until we find why it was a 12-inch. I think the 12-inch is clearly undersized for how much area is coming to it. But similarly, how this subdivision appeared to have been designed way back in the 90s, they utilized a lot of these existing ravines as detention areas. So we can't simply just open the culvert up. Not to mention, it's not just a simple culvert crossing. It's likely 8 feet below the road. So we'd have to open cut quite a large trench to get the pipe out and replace it. So it's not a simple fix if we even go that route. So, you can see by the contours on the GIS, the south ravine is probably 12, 13 feet deep off the road. So and it's thick back there. I've never actually found the downstream end of it. So, yeah, so we just need more information before we can make a recommendation to potentially solve the issue or at least help it out a little bit. Because like I said, we have issues downstream. I don't want to make them any worse. So
So was the original concern that it was clogged or was the pipe was too small?
the initial concern, I think, from the resident that it was clogging, but I think when you look at it, I don't think that's really the issue. Yes, it's clogged, but it's only a 12-inch pipe to begin with. So there's only so much water getting through that pipe as a whole. So even if it does clog, that's the top he's talking about. If the manhole gets into, it's a pipe going into a manhole and another pipe going on the road. So for some reason, it was designed to have an overflow, but it's not overflowing into a larger pipe. So the overflow is kind of a moot point. So I think the larger issue after looking at it is when you look at everybody hears about kind of our head scratchers, but so we just needed to dig through those records a little bit better and see what was approved, see why it was that small. There is a reason for it. I mean, and if it needs to stay, there is an option of potentially capping it with a lid and putting an actual beehive structure on it, which should not clog as easily as these giant rebar like grates. One problem with that is that we probably have to clear some trees to even get access to put a big, the lid's going to be 6 inches thick of concrete and, 5 feet wide probably. And it's going to have to go down an embankment. And we're going to have to set it somehow. So that's not a fun option either. But if that's what it needs to be, then we'll go that direction.
So wait till next time on that.
Yep.
Last matter of old business, Mr. DeNick, 10813 West 134th Place.
So I believe that from the last phone call I received that this should be being resolved. Don, you had called me last Thursday.
Yeah.
And, let me know that Tim had made a decision that the drainage swale is supposed to be reestablished in its historic location in line with the stormwater inlet and the existing swale on the property to the north.
I told him it's up to him. So the fill occurred on Mr. Knott's parcel. Looks like lot 6.
Correct.
He has an outstanding deck permit, I believe, with the building department. So he said he would talk to Mr. Knott next time he called in for an inspection, which I imagine is pretty quick based on the status of his deck. I told Tim to ask him to restore it, and now it is in building department's hands. That's where it stands right now.
Like you mentioned on Thursday during the phone call that Tim had made a decision and it would be located in its historic location.
He is going to ask him to restore it, but it's ultimately outside of my hands because I can't ticket anybody. I can't stop him from doing any permits. It's really up to Tim to get him to do it now because that's the leverage we have.
Okay, well, I mean, in the 2015 stormwater ordinance, it says that if the owner fails to correct the deficiencies within the allotted time period as specified in the notification letter, the Public Works Department or other applicable entity may undertake the work. So I'm wondering, and I want to make sure that the homeowner will be notified in writing because that's what the ordinance says. And I would like to know what the time period the homeowner is giving, that is being given for the restoration.
Until he speaks to him directly when he calls in for a deck permit, I can't tell you that. I can tell you right now that the work is going to be taking place on his property. It would likely will not be done by the town.
Well, it says that it can be done by the town, and the town will place a lien on the homeowner's property, actually. The ordinance states.
Jill?
We talked to Tim on this afternoon. He will be reaching out to the homeowner. The letter has not been drafted yet.
Okay,
The letter
that's
will
good.
be drafted. We are going to try and have verbal communication first with the property.
Okay. I do have a handout here summarizing what's taken place since last month's meeting. I'd like to thank Ryan for coming out, taking a look at things. It was apparently very clear to you as well, where the historic location of the drainage was. less, is that correct?
You can see it with your eyes.
Okay, so that's all that I'm looking at, so, since he has not been notified, and again, I'd like to thank Don as well for coming out, taking a look at things. You know, it was, my impression, Don, that you believe the historic location of the drainage swale to be located in that homeowner's property, correct?
I did. I also presented other solutions that would have restored the same function.
Correct, except I did bring up, and that's in the handout, I've got a copy for everybody here. I did take an objection to your proposed solution of jogging the ditch around the homeowner's property due to his grass already growing. That would actually decrease the capacity of the ditch because you would have to add east-west runs to jog the ditch along his property, thereby increasing the total length of the run, and you're working with the same amount of fall. So if you have the same amount of fall in a longer run, you have less slope per foot, and that would reduce the flow capacity of the ditch. In addition to that, it would set legal precedent that the homeowner could place the fill on the easement and the town would accommodate. I would like to remind everybody that, again, the 2015 ordinance, chapter 3, section 6 states that the stormwater quantity facilities shall be maintained in good condition and shall not be subsequently altered, revised, or replaced except in accordance with an approved plan or in accordance with approved amendments or revisions to the plan. Neither of those were done. You know, we determined last month's meeting that the fill should not have been placed without a permit. You know, I'm not asking for all the fill to be removed, which certainly, according to the ordinance, could be done. I'm just asking for the ditch to be reestablished in its historic location where, you know, Tom's come out, looked at it, said it's supposed to be. Tim has come and looked at it. Ryan's come and looked at it. You've agreed that's the historic location. And thirdly, I mean, what kind of precedent are we setting for the children of this community that you can just do whatever you want and ignore the ordinances and then the town will accommodate you? I don't think that's a precedent that we want to set for the children of this town.
I think we've all not, like you said, we've not argued the fact that he likely did fill in it. We tried to provide other solutions that would offer the same function to restore.
I would like to argue that if I go to the map over here, point to my property, that if this is allowed to stay, then I would like to have I'll be filling in my easement because the precedent will be set. And I'll argue that the town could dig a ditch across the park like that, and that would serve as the same function as well.
Mark, I told you when I was out there that I don't agree with what he did.
Okay. So for the record, nobody agrees with what he did. Let's get the situation rectified, please. That's all
But
I'm.
you saying that you're willingly going to do it is different than what he did. Yes, nobody caught him when he did it. We did not have a
I
code
did. I called the
enforcement.
town before the fill was placed.
And I think
April 23rd, there was no grass,
excuse
no
me,
bushes.
we're going with the Tim Kubiak route. He's going to reach out to them verbally before a written letter is placed
Okay.
to the property owner. That is what has been decided here to go about the best way. Now, depending on how that is taken in response, then the next step forward will be with a letter written, and everything will be outlined in that letter.
So will I be notified throughout the next couple stages then? I mean, this is my complaint, so I should be copied with all the resolution. I've asked that in this as well. You know, when the letter is drafted, I'd like a copy of it so I can file it with all the rest of my paperwork in regards to this drainage issue, because that would be basically the only evidence of resolution that I've gotten from the town of Cedar Lake. So I would request that I get copied on those correspondence.
I would have to verify that we can do that legally, but I will reach out to you when different things are occurring.
Okay, so then I would ask that this not be slated as old business because it doesn't appear to be resolved to me at this stage.
And it will be kept on update items.
Okay. So when will I be receiving an update? I mean, do we have to wait until the guy calls for an inspection? I mean, certainly the inspector's making his rounds on a daily basis.
Jill had previously said that Tim is going to be reaching out to that property owner.
Okay. So I should hear something back before the next meeting or see a ditch being dug before the next meeting?
I believe that you should be hearing something back the next meeting.
Okay, I mean, I've been patient already since April, so I appreciate your help, Ryan, I really do. I'm not sure why everybody can come out and say, yeah, that's where it's supposed to be. But now everyone wants to tiptoe around saying, hey, buddy, you broke the ordinance. Let's get this corrected. I mean, I could go with him and meet the homeowner right now and talk to him. I'm not sure why we have to wait until he calls us.
But that's not how this is going. Like I said before, the Tim Kubiak is going to be reaching out to him. So once that happens, and if a letter is drafted, that is how this is going to be proceeded as. Now, is the water still flowing?
No, it backs up and then it goes completely across the park. You've seen what the corner of the park looks like. It's a swamp back there. They're getting stuck back there with the lawnmowers while they mow. I mean, it's livable for now, but I mean, and I'm not expecting anything to be corrected in a week either. But certainly, if you can buy all that fill and place it in a weekend, in 6 weeks you could have a ditch restored. I mean, that's very reasonable timeframes I'm asking for.
So we will be updating you as different happenings occur.
Okay,
All right.
I appreciate it. Thank you
All
guys
right.
for your time.
Thank you. All right, moving on to new business. Written communication. Nope. All right, update items. Gail LaBella and Pam and Mark Altop on Sherman Street.
So yeah, these are, as we said last meeting, these are also part of the subdivision master plan. These are part of the Shade subdivision. These are being looked in right now because we actually have detailed survey of the entire neighborhood. So this will be part of the plan, which will be completed sometime in late summer.
Okay. Moving on to the Albanos at 12836 Hess Street, North Monastery Woods.
So this is something we provided information to the town about the nearest inlets. This is Monastery Woods North. Sorry. This is kind of the time period prior to our current ordinance, which requires additional inlets be in the rear yard. So the Hesses the Albanos are right here on Hess. Sorry. We provided the proximity to the nearest inlets, which it's essentially 2 parcels up. Accent Homes still owns that one. So we are still waiting a solid legal opinion if we can have them do it, or we'll do it ourselves because we have easements. So I'm just kind of waiting. Any updates?
Monastery Woods North,
Mhm.
correct? I talked to Tim today. We will be doing that work.
Okay.
We'll be adding it to our list of projects.
And we've identified, I think, all the inlets in that subdivision
And the tie-in.
still vacant lots where we can hopefully solve these issues before we have new homes built.
So that's the update as of 3:00 this afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, moving on to update item C, the pros at 15004 Cary Street.
So I can provide an update on this. You can come up if you'd
You can
like.
come up. If you can just state your name and your address.
I realized when we're wearing masks that my hearing isn't as good as I thought it was. My name is Sue Pro, and we're on Cary Street, and I'm here because my husband's at work. And I wanted to thank Ryan for coming out shortly after the meeting last time because it just helped to be able to show somebody. I have begged for Diamond Peak and offered to pay them to come out and just look at the situation. And then Tom came out after I first reported to Tammy, which pointed out things that we didn't even know of and I got this picture because of what they had said this is between 2 other homes, just like ours, and this is ours and our neighbors. So we are having quite a slope other than just the downspout that was dumping on us, and then they put the little plastic extension on, which this, probably made us notice the problem a lot sooner. And then when we had to get the gate post raised, when they did that, then they found a sinkhole underneath of that, which my husband put like 6 bags of dirt in, but we're still having water in, and I stopped taking pictures, and I don't know what else should I say.
I can provide an update. We met Diamond Peak out there on Monday. We've had several emails back and forth with Diamond Peak and their teams, specifically Todd Clevin, who's their CFO, and their president as well. We met Todd out there. I was out there with Tom on Monday morning, just to kind of look at it a little closer. There are definitely what we call bellies in that line, kind of just low spots throughout. One's next to your ingress egress window. There's likely another one closer to your fence line as well. So we let them know what the problems are, and we'd like them fixed. We noticed there's a lot of sprinklers on that line as well, which probably isn't helping the situation because it was pretty saturated when we were there Monday. It did rain Sunday night, not a lot, but it was pretty spongy through there as we were walking through there. There's a clear low spot though. So Todd said he'd give me an answer here as soon as he could. He knew he wasn't gonna get an answer before tonight's meeting since we finally got him out there yesterday. That tells you. He says that they haven't had any discussions with you about your basement flooding, is what he said.
Well, I have the picture right here that.
Oh, we sent him the minutes from last meeting, so he's aware of your concerns from last meeting. Can I get copies of your pictures?
You sure can.
Okay. 'Cause I didn't have those to show him.
I've sent all these to Todd and Scott in literal pictures in the mail.
Okay.
More than once. And when my realtor friend was doing the closing and brought up the situation because her friend was buying in Diamond Peak and she thought she should warn them, then Scott immediately within 5 minutes texted me this text, "Hey Susan, can you send me the pictures of the leak inside your home?" So this was before I ever got to come here and talk to you guys.
This is Scott from Diamond Peak.
Yes, Scott
Okay.
is the owner,
Yeah.
Todd is the VP.
Yep.
So I have sent, I don't even know what to say that I haven't discussed
Yeah,
it with you.
I was surprised him to say that, but
Well, I guess I shouldn't be because after I sent this, Scott messaged me and said, "I think I know what it is. I'll be out there today before the weekend so you can stop worrying and get it cared for." And no show. Like 20 texts, emails, phone calls. I try it all to get somebody, to come out here. And this is, I didn't date it. I need to go back and put my dates. And this is all my correspondence. Our 1-year walkthrough was at 17 months. Our 2-year walkthrough was 2 years and 4 months. Our 90-day walkthrough was at 13 months. And our annual walkthrough was at 17 months. So we've been fixing a little, paint here and there, frost on the inside of the living room type of thing. But the urgent thing, and my husband is concerned about, is all that water when it comes in. Sometimes it drips, which I have pictures of, and other times I don't have to put a bucket. I just wipe it up. Picture of that because there's spiders that put my hand in there, but you can smell it. So that's how we know.
can I borrow those and give them back to you?
Yes, actually, I made these.
I can make copies of all of them.
So you're fine. This
Oh,
is
I
it.
can keep these?
And Susan, Mrs. Stroh,
Yes, sir.
I'll give you these back.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was trying to figure out what one they gave you.
Okay.
Okay, I'm done, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So
So
we
we're
will
waiting
we will
from-
stay in contact with them and try to get a resolution to everything. I'll send them these pictures. I know they asked for them last time. I just didn't have them. I think we
Right.
had one that Tammy had around the fence, but I'll send them these pictures and hopefully you can come with a solution before next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Letter D, Elaine Edwards, 10535 West 129th Avenue. I believe you have a update for that one?
I do. We issued a kind of a recommendation memo this afternoon for this one. We believe the waterway to what we call a mutual drain, that even though there's likely not an easement over it, it does service multiple parcels. For now, the memo is being kept confidential because it was sent to the town attorney to basically see if he agrees with the recommended solution to it, removing it, because it is on private property. We tried to pull the subdivision plat for the properties west of Glen Oaks. Let me zoom in here. It's shown as what they're showing as an unknown subdivision, which is weird to say the least. The county didn't have a subdivision plat for it, and the legal descriptions are what we consider meets and bound parcels. So I think it's just an error in the GIS, and these are all just single meets and bounds parcels, which likely means, unless there's something dedicated in the deed, that there's not a easement across this waterway. But because it's a mutual drain, it gives us a little more recourse about correcting something that could be impacting parcels along its limits. So we have made a recommendation. We're just waiting on an opinion, and it's not his fault. We got it to him, today, about if we have the legal authority to force the property owner to remove that restrictor.
Do you understand that?
Just have to remember, it is a part of item, that you can't go off natural drain.
That's correct.
Yes.
Did you find the old minutes from where he was told he had removed the blockage previously?
We did find the old minutes.
You did? So it was addressed, and you can show them that previously he was told that he would block that.
Right here.
What neighborhood is it?
Glen Oaks
Glen Oaks.
is to the east. This one is just, I think, meets and bounds parcels. These 4 parcels through here.
So essentially, there's a neighbor that is damming up the waterway.
As we did with others, property owners that were impeding the progress of water, we sent the police department out there first. This was when I was chairman of the committee, and we found out that the guy was a police officer that was blocking, and he was hemming and hawing, but we definitely came through, and I don't see any reason why your problem is any different. It should be rectified as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's likely the way it's going to go, but I don't want to say for certain until we get the yay from the town attorney, especially since we don't have legal right of access to it from what we can see. So, and then it becomes a legal issue at that point.
And in discussions with Pat and Anita Willie, the property in between Glen Oaks and his property, they were required to put in a 40-something huge culvert to access the back part of the property where that drain goes through. And that's what the town required of them.
Do you know when that was put in approximately?
It's been several years.
It's been a while.
It's been
Okay.
a while.
Yeah, and likely you would have to size anything appropriately if you're going to block a creek, or because you can't have what we call adverse impacts to neighboring properties. So that's kind of the basis of the memo we've sent to the town attorney. I'm pretty confident it's the right recommendation. I just want him to sign off on it. We will, because likely if it goes that direction, there will have to be some communication with the homeowner to remove it and why. And then if he says no, then it escalates to the next level, and we'll take it from there.
All right, that moves up to Public Works projects, and the only one there is Robin's Nest. I know there's been some obstructions. A couple of fences have to be taken down. Is there any update? Nope. Okay. All right. Moving on to public comments.
Chuck leave? I know Chuck was going to say something. All right, I mean, should I talk to it or does he have to say it? He and I have talked about it offline. I'll just talk about it. He owns a property, and this has been a repeated flutter for a long time. It's an A-frame house down on 136 Ave. It's this guy. Yeah. It's drained by a series of drain tiles in the rear yard that eventually outlet to 136 Place. They kind of wind their way down to this kind of, I don't know, concrete trough area here, if you want to call it that. 136 Place was done, the road was redone back as I think the second round of capital improvement projects in 2009, but there was no really storm sewer element to that project. The existing storm sewer still runs kind of west, jogs down this public-private ingress-egress to the lake, and then dumps out here. It's super flat because it actually has to come back uphill in order to get through this hump in order to get back to the lake. It's only, I think, at its max size is an 18-inch or 15-inch pipe. And I think he actually has 2 4-inch or a single 8-inch drain tile that actually goes under his foundation.
Was this previously addressed?
No. It's gotten a little better when Offshore started construction, which is this little 9-10 lot subdivision over here. We had them throw an inlet as far down grade as we could on 136 without obviously exposing the top of the pipe, because this is also kind of a high point right here. To try to catch as much water coming down to 136 as we could. It likely helped a little bit, but he still has, you know, all of this drainage come off 135th Place. He's just in a really bad low spot, like really bad. I don't know if there's easements back there for us even to get access to those pipes. And we know the original owner of this house, who has some pretty good knowledge of what's going on back here. It all does tie into this system. The system's likely undersized, but even just getting the water out from, I mean, you can see his house is legitimately in the lowest spot. He's had to replace multiple furnaces over the years. I actually asked him to come here because we speak about this offline quite frequently. So we can do a little more digging on it. I've looked at the plans for 136 Place. There was no really storm water element with that project. We installed essentially a brand new road and essentially a V-notch gutter line on both, which just takes it to the original system. But the original system has some flat spots in it. And then, like I said, he's got some old drain tiles that really just drain this low spot, which aren't so great. You don't want to have to rely on a drain tile to drain a low spot like that. And it's likely been there for 50 plus years.
We did do some work over there by Chuck's property, and we ran some pipes from there around over to the next road. I don't know if Jill could find some of the material on that or not.
I think those are the pipes that I'm referencing. I think they're a bunch of old pipes. Yeah, the problem, I mean, we know where they're at, I think Chuck knows where they're at. I really just need to go out there with them and mark them in the field and try to connect the dots to what survey we have through there and see what we may or may can't. I don't know. I don't know if there's easements back there to actually access. I think that project was done by Ed Robinson, wasn't it? Back in the day?
I think it was before then. I think it was when Bob Brannon was the town council president.
Oh, okay. That was a long time ago then.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wouldn't have those records, I can tell you that. I mean, we wouldn't. I don't know if the town would, but that's a long time ago. So we can do some digging on it, see what access we have to it. I can always meet Chuck out there as well. So see if he's got any thoughts. I mean, the house is it's in a bad location.
What's the address? Sorry.
His address is 7513 West 136.
John, would our camera fit in any of those lines?
Yeah,
Maybe
if
John
it's an
can add that to the list to be cameras so we can see what's going on in the ground.
if it's an 8-incher, probably could. I'd just be getting the camera truck back there. Well, you could run it from the street maybe. Yeah, if it's an 8-inch line, probably it can't do 4-inchers, can it? Can the camera do a 4-inch pipe? Or is that pushing it?
I don't know
Or
if
we
we
can
do
have
it
Eric
for,
look
I
at
don't
it.
think you can.
Okay. Yeah, I can run out there with Eric, or you can take a look at it. I'm sure Chuck will let me walk around. I know it's a rental parcel for him, so I know he doesn't live
Or
there.
at least from the street, if we see what's going on.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something in there
Yeah.
we can get out.
Okay.
All right, is there any other public comments before we adjourn for the night? All right, make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right.